If you are a police officer and if you sow into your communities, if you go invest into the people that you serve, people will know you by your name and not police officer. That's what made me so inspired by it. People knew me by my name and not Officer Tillman. It was, yo, Tillman. And why is that so important is because we talk about humanizing the badge. Well, what does humanizing the badge look like? That's what it looks like right there. You want people to know you by your name, not your title. Don't put too much weight on that title because that title will one day retire once you retire, but your name will never retire. Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed Podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Odino with the Popo. What's up, bro?
What up?
Chilling, bro. Eating my muffin, bro.
No, you stay eating, man. Like 90% of the time I see you, you got something like that you're snacking on.
Don't worry about my snacks, man. Don't worry about my snacks.
You have McDonald's, which I find it appalling that you eat McDonald's in the years 2021. So
I don't really eat McDonald's like that, though. I really don't.
I honestly could not tell you the last time I had McDonald's.
My kids eat it, but I don't really eat it. It's good, but every now and again, though, like I'll just get a craving for like either a Big Mac or like a quarter pounder of cheese every now and again. Like not always, but there is a time where I'm like, man, like a quarter pounder or like a Big Mac just sounds bomb right now.
I told y'all like a few months ago I had a craving for some McNuggets. Horrible. Instant regret. As soon as I ate them, I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. The whole day, I'm like, oh, yeah, my stomach hurts.
Did they at least taste good, though?
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, they was chicken McNuggets. You can't go wrong with them. I don't know if they chicken, but you know, they say they are. So
somebody told me you could leave a McNugget out for like 20 years and it would be still good to eat.
You haven't seen the videos of people who leave like a Big Mac or like a quarter pounder with cheese out for like years and they unwrap it and it looks exactly the same. Like the cheese ain't moldy, nothing.
Seriously?
Yes, bro. Yes, look it up.
Can't be good for us.
That's disgusting.
I'm gonna look it up. Billy, what's up, brother? How you doing? Ryan forgot to mention you today.
I don't have a mic today, so I'm gonna be kind of
oh, that's why.
MIA.
He's on punishment because he forgot his mic.
Yeah, Billy, we ain't talking to Billy. Watch this. Hold on. What I'm typing? I'm typing McDonald's.
Man, this podcast is just captivating.
Food left out for years. People want to know about this stuff. This is the nutrition part of the job.
Well, as he does that. And as I swallow my muffin, I'm done now. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for sticking with us. On a more serious note, I do want to start the podcast with on a good note. We received a really cool email the other day. I'm gonna read it.
Oh yeah, I didn't get a chance to read this yet.
It's terrible.
So this is like news to me.
That's terrible.
Hey, it's been busy.
That's man. Terrible. Busy. Somebody sent us a message, an email. The other day, and it was really, really cool. And it was titled "New Listener." It says, I got turned on to Ryan through Henner and well, thanks, Billy. Henner, I don't even know. So I got turned on to Ryan through Henner's about 6 to 9 months ago and started following BBU. Only recently did I start listening to any podcasts, though, and this was the first one I subscribed to. You guys are on the money. 105 and 106 are powerful. Ryan's comment of what are you doing today that can change tomorrow is inspiring. I'm a prosecutor in rural Texas and have been trying to share the podcast with everyone. A young officer was in my office last week and saw a Gracie certificate on the wall. Hey, I've heard about them and what they're doing for police. There's this podcast with these two cops. He was shocked when I cut him off and told him I already listened to it. Keep it up and keep spreading the good work and good news. Thanks again. So I thought that was a cool message that we received. It just is a constant reminder for me and AJ and Billy to keep doing what we do and why we do what we do. Sometimes, I mean, we've been doing this now for over 2 years. So sometimes it can seem like it gets mundane, which not from the aspect of like we don't like doing it, but sometimes it's easy to just think like, oh, we're just going to do another podcast today.
Going through the motions, yeah.
and almost forget why we started to do this. And so when we receive emails and messages like that, it just really reminds us to keep doing what we're doing, because I think we are making an impact. I truly think we're making an impact with people across the country, whether you're in law enforcement or not. And one of the things I found, and AJ, I'm sure this has been true for you, I find that we have made it easier for people to have conversations about the tough topics. And so what I mean by that is, like, I've had a lot of people say, hey, man, I send your stuff out to everybody I know. When a lot of people don't have responses or don't have an answer to a certain topic or whatever, I think what they've found themselves doing is sending our stuff over to people and allowing them to listen, so we can almost deliver the message for them. So we're like become messengers for people, so they can explain what they feel inside. Because a lot of times, especially with the topic of law enforcement, it's very difficult to explain how you feel. And so I think that, we've allowed, or we've helped people be able to do that. So I just think it's really, really cool to receive messages like that. What do you think, AJ?
Nah, I absolutely agree. I had the honor of speaking to our cadets. So not the recruits. It's like the step before you become a recruit. They're between 18 and 21 years old. We have like a program called the cadet program. And it's like the junior academy, essentially, without downplaying what they do. But I spoke to those young men and women, I think Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. That might have been Tuesday. But afterwards, or during the presentation that I was giving, one of the guys stood up. Lugo, I think I'm gonna mess his name up, man. I'm so sorry for messing your name up right now. Let me pull this up because I don't want to butcher it. Maybe, of course, I ain't gonna find it now. But anyway, he stood up and he said, he was a huge fan of the podcast. He listens to like every episode, and it's like really inspired him to be where he's at and to like even have like interest in law enforcement. And you could just tell by like talking to him, like, I asked a simple question, like, why do you want to be a cop? And, I made every single one of them stand up and tell me why they want to be a cop. And, when he stood up and started talking, you could tell his was like very genuine and like passionate. And he's like, I want to help people. I want to help my community. I want to go out here and make a change. I'm not afraid of like the adrenaline rush part, none of that. But like more than anything, like I want to go out here and make a change. So it was refreshing for me to hear, for this young man to be like, look, like I listen to like every word you guys say. You guys like encourage me and like motivate me to be the best version of myself. So that alone was like a reminder within itself, like let alone the emails we get, and we do read them. We might not like reply to all of them, but like we definitely do read them and go through and we reply to what we can. But yeah, man, you're absolutely right. Like it's extremely encouraging and motivating for us to keep doing what we're doing, because like you said, it's easy to get in the routine of things sometimes, Hey,
yeah.
What time we recording tomorrow? That's that.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, like we record Mondays. So Sunday night around 7 or 8 p.m., someone will send out a text. So what time we recording tomorrow?
We're like
it's normally Billy.
We're like the most, well, I give so credit to Billy, because we had a Freedom Fest in our city this weekend, and so I was working it. And there was somebody there that listens to our podcast and was like, man, the quality of your guys' podcast is just phenomenal. Like, he was like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and he was like, you guys have really, really good quality. So shout out to Billy. But if they only knew how we really plan and get ready for our podcast, I mean, it just makes me wonder, like, how good would we be if we were like, like super on it, like, because
nobody got time for that.
I've been on so many podcasts, and so a lot of the podcasts that I'm on, people will record, like when I record with them, they're like, all right, cool, we're going to get this out in like 2 months. Like, we got a whole list of people. You're going to be in the latter end of July or whatever. And they got to schedule it out. I'm like, man, we are like so different, but it works out. And I think that's what makes our podcast so unique and genuine, is because everything that is you guys get from us is not scripted. And for the most part, there's only every now and again you'll have something. And what I mean by scripted is, we have an outline of this is what we're going to go. These are the key things we're going to ask each other. Like, no, ours is legitimately a conversation. And I think sometimes you get the most valuable content through conversations as opposed to scripted content. And so I think that's what makes our podcast so unique. And so we're going to continue to do it. I do have 2 topics that I actually want to kind of bring up that kind of coincide with one another. And, first, I want to read off some statistics, and these statistics are pretty pretty crazy because it really is going to shed light on the second topic that I'm going to bring up. So these statistics are the crime surges in cities across the country. So in Atlanta, homicides are up 58%, shootings are up 40%. In New York City, homicides are up 13%, shootings are up 64%, and this is compared to last year. In Portland, homicides are up 533%, and shootings are up 126%. And then in Chicago, homicides are up 5%, and shootings are up 18%. It's kind of funny because, I mean, it's not funny, but it's kind of weird. You look at Chicago, like, man, they're a lot lower than some of these other cities, which Chicago is pretty bad. But that's because Chicago's already crazy, when it comes to these categories. Los Angeles, homicides up 22% and shootings are up 51%. And then in Philadelphia, homicides are up 37% and shootings are up 27%. That is, I don't care what people tell me, because I've had people make this argument before, but I don't know if we've ever seen crime upticks like this, at least in my history, at least in my lifetime. Some will say, they didn't really track it that good back in the day, or there were times back when Rodney King stuff, but I don't think it's ever been as bad as it's been, at least in my lifetime. And
this is like nationwide. Like, that's the difference. I've talked to cops, who worked back when like the whole Rodney King thing was happening, and it was crazy out in Cali. Like it was wild out there, but it does not compare to like what happened and what's happening like across the nation right now. And that's everywhere. Like, I think we're up probably 50-60% right now. I think we just hit like 99 or 100 homicides this morning.
That's crazy.
And we ain't even in July yet.
So that's kind of what leads me to the overall topic today. We've talked about this before, but I really feel a strong call and sense on my spirit right now that we need to do some uplifting for the officers that continue to fight this good fight. We need to uplift those that want to get into law enforcement, but we also need to comfort those that have left law enforcement. And we also have to reassure those in the community that law enforcement will still be there to answer your call. We have to accomplish every single one of those things on this episode of the podcast, because I think we're really at a perilous moment in our society right now, that if we do not draw a line in the sand, we are going to continue to go backwards. And so I am confident to know that just through our conversation alone is going to stimulate people to go out there and want to have change in their own communities. But I'm also confident to know that if we continue to just fight this good fight, we will come back on top. So that's kind of the direction I want to go with this podcast today. And so with that being said, I want to first start and talk about those that have left the professional law enforcement. Some people in the community think that what they did was wrong or they shouldn't leave. But one of the things I have to get you to understand, though, is that I am not knocking anybody that has left law enforcement during this time period at all. Because at the end of the day, one of the most important things to any man, and hear me clearly, any man, meaning human being, and I'm just using the word man just for the sake of the example here, but any man is your relationship with God, one, but your family. And if your quality of life with your family starts to become compromised or jeopardized because of the job you do, I will never be mad at a person for leaving this job because their quality of life at home is starting to suffer from it. And there are a lot of people right now that have left this profession simply because they believe that the risk versus reward is no longer worth it. And I can understand that. There are places in our society right now where police officers do not make a lot of money. They are not treated the way they should be treated. The amount of liability that they face as opposed to what they're going to gain, it doesn't make it worth it. And so at the end of the day, I hate to say this, but the job alone, I've said it before and it still remains true, that law enforcement is the calling. That is still true. But at the same time, the the job of police officer, at the end of the day, it's still a job, and your family and your friends are going to suffer if you're not happy. And so if you've left this job, I don't ever want you to feel bad that you left. I don't want people to make you feel bad. You had a decision to make. You served your time, and now just trust and believe that God is calling you in to do something else that's different. The only thing I would ask for you is that whatever he's asking you to do now, just make sure you do it to the best of your ability with still that desire that you have from day one, which is to serve people. And you can do that in whatever industry. Go ahead, AJ.
I had a talk with a pretty good friend of mine. I'm not going to say his name because we have mutual friends who listen to this podcast. But he is leaving the profession, like, as a whole. Like, he's like walking away from the job. He's not transferring to another department. Like, he's like legit just quitting law enforcement. And it was surprising for me because this individual was like one of those guys that like lived, breathed, slept like law enforcement, like was always working, always like texting about stuff going on at work, getting intel like at all times of the night, all times of the day type of guy. And I had a talk with him, and he's like, I need to do this for my mental health, but I don't want to do it because I'm afraid that I'm not going to find another job that I love. And we had that exact same conversation. I was like, look, like you have to put yourself before like any of this. Like you have to put like your mental health, like you have to put like your family, like the relationship with your family and all that, like before this job. And you can't forget that. And he ended up walking away from it, and he's a lot happier now. Like, he is a lot happier. So I don't feel any type of way for anybody that's walked away from this job, at least in a positive manner. There are individuals who have walked away from this job and they've left a stain on their profession. That's a different talk. Like, that's completely different. But for individuals who left this job because of everything that's going on in the world right now, I'm glad that you were man enough or woman enough to know that it was your time and to walk away, because you could have stayed and something could have happened and that could have pushed you over the edge, towards like harming yourself or harming somebody else. You could have stayed and been so stressed and so worked up at work that you could have faced a critical incident and did something that you normally wouldn't do. Like, you made the right decision at the end of the day. Rock with it. And like Ryan said, like, wherever you're at now in your life, commit fully to what you're doing and focus on the run, like focus on the marathon. Like, you ain't crossed the finish line yet. Like stay focused on the marathon. So,
yep.
You hit the nail right on the head with that.
So that leads me to my second category of people that we're going to talk about. And that is the ones that are currently still doing this job. Now, our jobs are getting harder, no doubt about it. They are getting more difficult. They are tying our hands. Hey, Billy, can you let them know what we're doing right now? They're tying our hands in every decision we make. The laws are getting more lax. The people want to prosecute cops without knowing all the facts. And so some of you guys might be asking out there, like, why should I stay? Why should I stay? What are the reasons I should stay in a job that doesn't love me? A job that I love that doesn't love me back? A job that I sacrifice for that doesn't sacrifice for me? A job that, I give service to but doesn't give me service in return? Like, what is the reason that I would stay? And so I go back to my initial comment that I just said a few minutes ago, which was, remember, you were called to this job for a reason. You were called. No matter whether you like to hear that or you don't, you were called. And I like to look at myself as an example. If you guys don't know my story, just realize that I was somebody that did not like law enforcement. I did not like police officers. I did not like what the profession represented for many reasons. And when I had that opportunity to get into this profession, I still ran in for many different reasons, because I didn't know that this is what I still wanted to do. I didn't want to be the person that I despise so much. And looking back at it, I see exactly why God called me into this profession. And the reason he called me into this profession is because he was like, I'm using you, somebody that didn't like this job, somebody that didn't like police officers, to go out there and be that change that the world needs to see. It's up to you now, Ryan, to take the torch that I'm giving you to go and do it the way it's supposed to be done. You have the responsibility now to change it instead of just saying why you don't like something. And so when I look back at it and when I look through the glasses through those lens, it is so clear to me of why I do this job. And now it gives me purpose in doing this job. And so my motivation to whoever is listening to this right now is go back and remind yourself of what your purpose is. Why did you sign up to do this? And it can't be superficial. It can't be because, I'm going to make decent money. It can't be because it was solid job benefits. It can't be those reasons, because if it is those reasons, then you're going to probably walk out the door next because you're realizing that the risk is not worth the reward. And so if you feel like you've had a purpose that goes beyond just the 9-to-5 benefits that you're going to receive, then you need to literally sit down and re-ask yourself, what is my purpose within this profession? If you are a female, what females can I impact in this profession? If you're a female, what females in the community that I can I get to because of our biological nature that makes us similar to one another? If you're a female, what victim can I resonate with because they're a victim of domestic violence and they may not understand, or they will understand things a little bit more through your lens as opposed to a male? If you're a male, what things can you bring to the table because of your natural God-given strength that God has given you the ability to have? If you're a male, what things can you do because you're a very competitive in nature through your past sports that you've played and stuff? What things can you bring to the table for your community to go out there and start police activities leagues? Or, what things can you bring to the department and make things more competitive so people want to have success on a greater basis? If you're a minority, what language do you speak that can help your department out? If you're a minority, what communities can you go into and better relate to them just simply because of the color of your skin? If you speak a certain language, what part of the community can you go out there and be human with just simply because you have the same exact language that you speak with them? If you speak a different language, what other resources can you offer to your department simply because you speak a different language? I use these all as examples simply because every single one of you that's in this profession right now has been called this profession for a reason. And you need to utilize your background. You need to utilize your experience. You need to utilize every single God-given gift that he is giving you in order to make this profession better. So as opposed to looking at the negative statistics that I read out earlier, when we see crime going through the roof, as opposed to looking at all the police officers that are exiting this profession and recruiting rates being at the lowest they've ever been, I need you to change the way you look at through the lens. And then when you do it that way, then you will start to redefine your purpose, and this profession will make it all worth it again. That's what I need you to do right now. And that's what's going to keep you motivated to continue to move forward as a police officer in this profession, because it's not easy. But let me tell you this, when things aren't easy, that's when it starts to get good. That's when it starts to get good.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you start going through that adversity, when you start understanding why, and when it starts becoming all worth it, because at the end, when you retire 30 years later, 25 years later, and you sit back on the sidelines and you can tell your friends and your family members, you don't know what I went through during the year 2020. You don't know what I went through when I was standing on the sidelines, or you don't know what I went through when I was standing on that line of riots. And then you look back and you see a department that's way better. You look back and see a community that's way better. You look back and see a police department that's more diverse than it's ever been. You look back and see languages within the police department that we've never seen before. You look back and you see women that are in this profession only because they were inspired by the woman that came before them. That's what makes it all worth doing, and that's what we call legacy, my friends. That's what we call legacy, and that's why we do this job. So I say that to you, for anybody that's in this profession. I'm gonna get off my soapbox right now, but I really wanted to share that with people that are in this profession right now. Go ahead, AJ.
Anytime that I've faced great opposition or like a massive amount of adversity, on the other side of that opposition or adversity has always been a huge reward. Every single time. Like I've talked about it on like previous podcasts, like There was a point in my life where I thought I was going to be homeless at 18 years. The world was crumbling around me. People who I thought were my friends showed their true colors and they were not my friends. Like, there was just so much going on. And on the other side of that was me meeting an individual that I'm best friends with today that still helps guide me in the right direction, mentor me in the right ways. Like, I've faced so much opposition, but on the other side of that opposition has always been a great reward. So if that is you in the profession right now and you feel like the world is against you, you feel like your mayor, your city council, your chiefs, your lieutenants, your commanders, your supervisors, whoever don't support you, just know that on the other side of that adversity and on the other side of that opposition, 10 times out of 10 for me, is a great reward. You just have to be willing to grit down your teeth and push through it. And realistically, that's when you should thrive. Like, that is the position in which you should want to be, because that's when you learn the most. I went for a run today, and it wasn't no crazy one. I ran 2 miles this morning, right?
Oh, now it means I got to run 3 miles today.
You got to run 3 miles. You step your game up. Hey, I'm coming for you, bro. Like, trust and believe that. The shoulder is getting back. Hey,
ain't far to come, bro.
And so I ran a mile
see, he really ran a mile. He really ran a mile.
No. So I ran 2 miles, but at the 1.5 mile mark, I start getting like winded. I got a good pace going, but I'm winded. My legs hurt. You know, you get like your chest starts to get tight where you got like lift up your arms, right? And I smile. And what I told myself is, okay, this is the time that it counts. So what I did is I picked my pace up. I'm shadow boxing while I'm running. I turn the music up. I'm bobbing my head. Like, I'm like, this is what counts right here, right? Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger said that they once asked Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, how many push-ups and sit-ups do you do a day? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, I don't start counting until it hurts, because that's when it matters. So you're talking about somebody that shattered records, right? That like really changed what professional bodybuilding looks like. And this dude flat out said, like, I don't know. I don't start counting until it hurts. That means he don't, everything leading up to that oppression, everything leading up to that adversity, everything leading up to that pain did not count. But now that it hurts, now that I'm facing this oppression, now that I'm facing this adversity, this is what matters. Now it's game time. I'm gonna make this count. I'm gonna start counting right now. And that's how you have. That's how you have to look at life. Let me rewind a little bit and tell you what my week had looked like. This past week, what my week looked like. I got a call from an uncle and I got to be careful how I say this, of a juvenile female who was killed in the city that I work for. And that conversation essentially went, hey, I don't care what else is going on in the world. I don't care about nobody else's agendas. What I care about is solving my daughter or my niece's homicide and preventing other ones. So how can we work together, you being a police officer and me being an older male black, how can we work together for the world to see us working together to not only get information, but to stop this from happening in the future? I was contacted by a cable television company and they wanted to highlight me in a commercial. I was contacted by a news station. They want to do an article on me because of all the community work that I'm doing. I was contacted by a community activist who wants to put together a very, very nice event throughout the city to help raise awareness and stop the violence. I've been recognized more times outside of work than I have been inside of work, all for good things. Hey, I follow your TikTok. I love what you're doing. Hey, I seen the bikes that you gave away. I love that. Let me talk about that. I found 10 kids in one of the most violent, dangerous, and I'll put that in air quotes, intersection in the city where I work. I linked up with a nonprofit. The nonprofit gave me 10 bikes to give to these kids. And we showed up 5 officers and a supervisor deep and gave these kids bikes, hung out with them for probably an hour and a half. So for everybody that's out there saying, oh, the community doesn't like us and, you know, it's so negative and the profession's so hard right now. What lens are you looking through? I am one officer and that was my week. Imagine what else is happening nationwide, worldwide that you don't hear about because these officers don't have the platform that we're blessed enough to have, or they don't have the personality that I have to go out and tell the world, hey, look at what's happening in my life right now. What lens are you looking through? The entire time I was off work, all that I heard was, stay off as long as you can, AJ. Don't come back. It's just not the same. You can't go out and be the police anymore. The community hates us. The mayor hates us. City council hates us. You don't have the support. So what did I do? I came out swinging. Why? Because I knew that this is what counted. Everything that led up to this point didn't matter. Why? Because it wasn't the opposition. It wasn't the adversity. It wasn't the pain. But now that we're here, I'm going to make it count. And it's been the complete opposite of what everyone has told me. The complete opposite. I have people chasing down my cruisers like I'm a legit celebrity now. Can I take a picture with you? Can I take a picture with you? Hey, I heard you giving away cars. Hey, I heard you giving away bikes. Hey, can you talk to my kid? Hey, can you come here and just chill with us for a little bit? Hey, why don't you never stop and talk to us? This is literally every single day. So what lens are you looking through? The same way that people skew the truth and make it seem like police officers are racist and all police officers are racist and all police officers have agenda is the same way that people skew the information to you and make you believe that people hate you because you're a police officer.
Man, preach.
Listen, though, you got me on a soapbox now, because for the officers who are in this profession right now, you are needed. I'm not just saying that because it's cliche. It's the name of the podcast. That's cute. I'm saying it because it's the truth. You are needed right now. Like all the way up until 3 weeks ago, I knew deep down inside I was where I was supposed to be. I knew that God put me in this position for a reason, because I never in a million years would have thought that I would have been in this position, let alone thriving the way that I had been, right? It wasn't until 3 weeks ago that I truly, wholeheartedly believe and know through and through, this is where I need to be. I'm needed exactly where I'm at. And so are you. So are you. I don't know if it's listening to this podcast that's going to flip that light switch for you. I don't know if it's, you going out and stepping out of your comfort zone and talking to community members or changing the lens in which you look through for you to realize that. But you are needed in this profession. Trust me when I say that.
Man, this is turning out to be good, because one of the things that you touched on, I want you guys to understand that when AJ tells you all the things that he's done and accomplished, it's not because he's trying to pat himself on the back or to show like, look at me. There's a reason why he's telling you that. This past week, like I told you guys, I did this thing, did bike patrol at the Freedom Festival, which is for 4th of July, which is a huge, party in the park. We have a huge park out here in the city where there's thousands of people that come out, and it is packed. Let me tell you, it's packed. They do fireworks. And as I ride around on my bike, one of the coolest things that happens to me is, and this happens from, I worked 8 hours out there, is as the whole day I'm riding around, yo Tillman, hey, what's up? Hey, And it's from everybody, from some of your local gangsters to some of the kids that I was an SRO with, to some of the people that follow the podcast, to people that share my content. Why was it so cool? It wasn't cool because they were saying my name, Tillman. It was cool because it made me realize that if you are a police officer and if you sow into your communities, if you go invest into the people that you serve, people will know you by your name and not police officer. That's what made me so inspired by it. People knew me by my name and not Officer Tillman. It was, yo, Tillman. And why is that so important is because we talk about humanizing the badge. Well, what does humanizing the badge look like? That's what it looks like right there. Yep. When you can go outside and people know who you are, not because you responded to a call for service to help them out, but because you invested in them before they actually needed you. That's what it is. That's what it's all about right there, is to go out there and invest in these people before they actually need you. Every single one of these people I talk to, whether it's through as an SRO, whether it's because they listen to the podcast, or whether it's because I just saw them when I was walking down the street, those are relationships that I have fostered every single day because I wanted to make sure that they knew me before they had to know me. And if I can do it, if AJ can do it, if there's so many others out there like Saint the Rapping Cop that can do it, like Officer Parker that can do it, like Officer, Bannon that could do it. I mean, there's so many. I can go down the line of people across this country that are doing it as officers. If we can all do it, you can do it. And that's why I say this is specifically for officers that are still in this profession doing the job. That's what should give you the motivation and inspiration to continue to do it, because you want people to know you by your name, not your title. And remember that you want people to know you by your name, not your title. Don't put too much weight on that title, because that title will one day retire once you retire, but your name will never retire. So do you want people to know you by your name, or do you want people to know you by your title? And so go ahead, AJ. I see you had something else, and then we're going to transition to my next group.
I was just going to say, think about everything that we're being told right now. The world hates us. The world doesn't trust police. The world doesn't support police. But you have two people who are police officers on opposite ends of the country telling you the complete opposite. Like, just to piggyback off what Ryan said, like, this isn't a, hey, look at me. And this isn't Ryan saying, hey, look at me. This is a, hey, look at us as officers who are being embraced and supported by our communities in this time where the world wants you to believe the opposite. It's not true. It's not true. I'm telling you right now, it is not true. I've been in talks with very, very affluential companies and organizations, emails back and forth, Zoom calls, and these are stories that I can't go into detail about, but hopefully we'll be able to soon. We are supported. We are supported more than you know. You just have to be willing to go out and see it for yourself. You have to be willing to go out and see it for yourself. If you put that uniform on with the victim mentality, we talk about it all the time. All right, look, you about to get me started again. We talk about it all the time. You have two options. You could be a victim or a victor. And if you put that uniform on with the victim mentality, then 9 times out of 10, that's how you're going to see your day-to-day interaction. But if you put that uniform on with the victor mentality, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to have positive interactions with people. And when you take that uniform off at the end of the day, you're going to go, today was a great day. Today was a great day. Despite how crazy it was, despite how chaotic it was, you're going to see the silver lining in every single situation that you were placed in throughout the day and throughout the week. And you're going to go, wow. Today was a great day. Even though I showed up on a shooting scene where a juvenile lost their life and I had to stand over the body while the mother cried, you know what? I was able to make that connection. I was able to support that mother. I was able to hold her when no one else would. She was able to cry on my shoulder. Today was a good day. Even though I had to show up on a juvenile that drowned and the mother was super distraught, I was there for a shoulder for her to lean on. Today was a good day. People were yelling at me, cussing at me. You know what? I was able to wave at them and bring some positivity into their life despite the negativity they were spewing into others. Today was a good day. It's all about the mentality you have when you put this uniform on and when you go out there.
Man, that's it. Man, so let's transition because now I got to address this other group of people. We got 2 more people to address.
Let's go.
The next group of people we got to address is people that want to go into law enforcement. And you have to answer that question. Why do I want to go into such a profession that is on fire right now? Why do I want to do it? What is the reason I should continue to put my applications in the door? What is my reason for continuing to go through this strenuous process to get hired when everybody hates cops? Let me tell you why. Because right now, you're the future. You are the future of a profession that is changing. You are getting into law enforcement. I said it before and I'll say it again. You are getting into a profession that is one of the best times to enter in. Because like cryptocurrency right now, I'm gonna use cryptocurrency. Let me go crypto with y'all. I'm gonna go crypto with y'all. Like cryptocurrency right now. When everybody is fearful of it, when everybody doesn't know what it's going to do, well, as volatile as it is because you see the lowest of lows, what you realize when you get into cryptocurrency right now is that in 15, 20 years right now, you're going to see the highest of highs. And the best time to get into any type of stock market is in the lowest of lows and not the highest of highs. Any financial advisor will tell you, you want to buy when people are fearful and you want to get greedy or you want to be fearful when everybody is greedy. And so right now, with everybody being so fearful of law enforcement and what directions it's going to go, this is the time for you to get in because you are going to be able to come in and be the change that the world needs to see in such a dying profession right now. And I hate to say the word dying because it's not really dying, but that's how people view it. People view it as dying, but I view it as being stimulated right now. We're going through some change. We are getting the people that we need to come into this profession to stimulate the positive change. And if you're that person that's listening to this podcast and you're the one that's going through the hiring process and you keep getting let down and people keep saying, no, you can't get in, but you know you can get in, don't stop. Keep pushing because right now God is preserving you for the department that you need to go into. He is preserving you from the place in the community that you need to serve. Even though one door may be closed, even though you're saying, man, I really wanted to work there. God's saying, no, that's not where I want you to be because I need you over here in this city. Because when you go to this city, there's a person that you're going to meet 5 years from now that's going to need to hear your story, that's going to need to know where you come from. And they're going to need to be, I'm going to use you to touch that person. So this is why I closed that door for you at this department, because that person is over there in the city and you're not going to be able to get to them if you're over there. So I need you to keep that faith right now and know that your time is coming. Your time is coming somewhere, and maybe it's not in law enforcement. And so I don't want you to get discouraged if the final door is closed and you said it's not law enforcement. All that means is God is preserving you for something else. Remember, we're all in this together. You don't need to be in law enforcement to be a part of the team. Everybody has a different role on the team. We are all role players, and that's what the community is. And so if you were thinking about going into this job and this profession, I'm over here starting to cough now because I'm getting on my soapbox, but if you're one of those people that wants to go into this profession, I want you to realize this is your time. We need you.
Yep.
We need you because you are the future, and you're the one that's going to be brought into the doors of each and every one of these law enforcement professions, and you're going to be the spark that agency needs. You're going to be that breath of fresh air that these officers need, the ones that are struggling right now because they're like, man, I'm tired of this. You're that breath of fresh air that they need. And so I want you to continue to stay hopeful. I want you to continue to be that positive light that the community needs to see, even when they're dogging law enforcement. And I want you to start to view yourself as that change agent that your community needs. You need to start thinking about that now. You need to start thinking about, what change am I going to bring to my local department that is going to hire me when I get there? What change are you going to bring? Because if you don't start thinking about it now, next thing you know, you're going to be putting on that badge and that gun, and you're going to walk out of that car, that police car, and you're not going to know what to do because you never even thought about or envisioned yourself being in that position. So stay confident. Stay humble, but I want you to, most importantly, stay inspired. Bishop Omar said it best: only inspired people can inspire people. So I need you to be inspired right now, because once you're inspired, you're going to be out there and go to inspire other people. Go ahead, AJ.
When I first got on the department, I was very fortunate to land on a precinct that was full of legends, full of all these OG 10 plus year veterans who were all legends. Literally probably 5 people on my precinct were known throughout the city as just being a beast, a savage, the officer that you want to work with. And I was fortunate to land on that precinct. They invited me over, but it was funny because when I first got on, all I heard was, the profession's changed a lot, man. Back in my day, we used to be able to do X, Y, and Z. You have cruiser cameras now. Now you have to wear this microphone on your belt so they can hear everything you're saying. The community is not trusting us. The good old days, the good old days, the good old days. But I'm telling you, as somebody that's coming up on 9 years where I work now, 12 years collectively in law enforcement experience, that I am having the time of my life. You will not know any difference when you join the police academy, despite how many episodes of this podcast you listen to, despite how many family members you have that are in law enforcement. You will know nothing different aside from your day one experience in law enforcement. And that will be what it is. The recruits who are coming out of the academy now, they won't know what it was like before body cameras. They won't know what it was like before the riots, before the protests, before the demonstrations, before the political agendas. All they will know is the current environment of law enforcement. As long as you go into it with the right mindset, it's going to be the time of your life. It is going to be the time of your life. If I would have listened to all of these, and I love these officers. I love every single officer that I worked with on these precincts. I still look up to them. I still talk to them a lot. But if I listened to what they were telling me as far as the profession goes, I would be some crusty, burnt out officer already. But I didn't. I said, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to make the best of it. And it's been a phenomenal career. I've had phenomenal opportunities. I love my job. I love the community I serve, vice versa. They have love for me. My coworkers have love for me, a majority of them. And it's been a great time. So if you're looking at going into law enforcement and you're intimidated by everything going on, just know you won't know any different. You won't know what the good old days were like before all of this. So join the profession, right? If you feel a calling or somebody pulling on your heartstrings to go out here and do this, do it.
I love it. All right. So that leads me to my last my last group of people that I want to address in this podcast, and that is the community. So what do I have to say for the community? There's a lot I got to say for the community. But this is what's most important to me. Is right now, you guys sadly are being victimized. Those rates that I read at the beginning of this podcast, you guys are the victims of. And the police are the community too. So it's not just limited to just the community, because I want you to realize when I go home and take my badge and my gun off, I'm also a part of that community as well. And so we are all being victimized by these savages that are running the streets. And the reason that's happening is because we're now starting to have the veil removed from our eyes and starting to see that what we thought was good, even though our intentions were like, hey, we need more stricter, accountability for these law enforcement. Hey, we need to remove some of these, police officers by tying their hands more. Even though it seemed good on the surface, we're realizing like that wasn't the answer. The answer at the end of the day lies within the community. We have to be able to police ourselves and hold ourselves accountable, and we have to do that through the most strategic ways and smartest ways as we can. It's knowing who we're voting for, knowing who we're supporting in politics, knowing that even though something may look bad with the police use of force, realizing like there's a better way to go out there and hold that officer accountable than just getting on social media and vocalizing that this officer sucks. No, that means we need to show up to the community events. That means we need to go to the citizens academies. That means we need to, put our kids in programs that are going to help them get better. That means we need to go to the school board meetings. That means we need to go to the churches and figure out who's in the churches running our communities. That means we need to stay together as husband and wives so that way our kids can grow up in solid foundation homes. That means as kids, you need to stop trying to chase pop culture and chase this culture that says we want to demonize cops. We have a lot to do as a community. We have to band together and we have to go back to that village mentality. It takes a village to raise a child. Right now, we are so individualistic in our thought process and our ideals that we don't care about nobody else but our own, but we need to start caring about everybody else's kids. I hate to say that, but we have to. We need to care about the kid that's out there doing something he shouldn't be doing. We need to go back to the old school days where the whole neighbors could say, you know what, you getting spanked because you know what, that is not acceptable in this community. And when you start doing that, when we start doing that as a community, that in turn is going to make the jobs better. It's going to bring down the violence in our neighborhoods. It's going to have a personal accountability that people know I'm not riding through that neighborhood because I know that neighborhood don't play. It makes the job easier on the cops. It makes you feel safer in your community because we are all holding one another accountable. We should not be filming stuff as it's going down. We should be more concerned with getting involved in trying to protect whoever is getting beat down. We should be more involved in trying to protect the innocent victims that are being victimized in our neighborhoods. I'm not telling you to go out there and put yourself in a dangerous situation. I'm not telling you to go and beat your neighbor's kid if he does something wrong. That's not what I'm telling you. But I'm telling you is we should have that mentality to start holding others accountable for their actions as opposed to just allowing them to do what they want to do. We are living in this society where we're thinking that, oh no, it's okay to do wrong and we need to be accepting of this and that. No, we need to stand firm in our neighborhoods. We need to stand firm in our marriages. We need to stand firm in our relationship with God. And that's what's going to solve all these problems. I'm not just speaking to the community. I'm speaking to everybody, including officers who are inclusive of the community, because it takes all of us to change the way we start viewing things in our society. And that's what's going to start shifting this pendulum in the opposite direction. I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead.
My message to the community is this. Thank you. I know that an overwhelming majority of the community supports us. And for that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for having the courage to speak up when you probably shouldn't. Thank you for having the courage to shake officers' hands, to buy us lunch when you see us in line, to thank us for our service, to give us a wave when we're driving down the street, to show your support by putting banners and flags in your front yard and stickers on your car. Thank you to the overwhelming majority of the community that supports us. For the small percentage of the community that does not support us, there are two categories in which you fall. The first is you have a legitimate reason to not trust us. Whether it's, you've had a bad experience or whether it's you just are constantly fed these negative videos and this negative content on social media and in the news. For that, if you've had a negative experience, I'm sorry. Ryan's sorry. We say it all the time. Like, we apologize as a profession that you had that negative experience, that you have to live with the trauma that you do, that, you know, it changed the way that you look at the profession. Just know that that negative experience does not equate to nowhere near all of the positive interactions that law enforcement officers have on a daily basis. The second category of the community members who don't support us are ones who have their own agenda. And for you, I just want to let you know that hell is real. And I don't know how else to say it. And, you know, you could take this how you want to.
Can't sugarcoat that.
Hell is real. Like, hell is a real place. And I pray that you find salvation. And I pray that, you know, you find the power that I found in the name of Jesus Christ, and that you realize like what you're doing is wrong. But at the end of the day, like, what I need you to realize is hell is real. And one day, whether you believe it or not, this is truth. This is truth. I'll say it one more time for you. This is factual. You will have to answer for that. You will have to answer for every single one of your actions. And God ain't going to like you saying, well, I did that to put myself in this position. I'm just letting you know. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Hell is real.
Let me tell you, don't ride that wave just because everybody else is on it.
Don't do it.
Don't ride that wave.
Your salvation ain't nothing to play with. Like,
Nope.
you know, we talk about like our faith all the time, and we get some negative backlash for it, which neither one of us care to be frank with you. You know, we'll never hide our faith, but like something everybody on this podcast needs to know, everyone who listens to this podcast, anyone who might come across this message, is hell is real. Like, your salvation is nothing to play with. Like, whatever wave is going on in the world right now, whatever's popular, whatever trend, like, don't let these earthly trends and these earthly waves mess with your salvation and where you'll spend eternity. Not a couple days, not a couple years. I'm talking about eternity. Hell is real.
Let me tell you guys this, and we're going to wrap up on this. And I don't know if you guys have one else to go, but if you guys can try to find one as we do this. But let me just tell you this. One of the things I realized, to AJ's point right now about hell being real, is I've always, you know, I grew up Catholic when I was younger, from, you know, young as I can remember, to going to middle school. And then from there, I remember when I went to college, I ended up going to Randall Cunningham's church out in Las Vegas, where I was baptized as a Christian. And, you know, and without getting into semantics of it, Catholicism and Christianity, very similar in many ways, both believe in the same thing. But for the most part, when I became a Christian, I learned that I can have a personal relationship with God, meaning I can go to God at any given time. I don't got to go through a priest to confess my sins. I don't got to, you know, do the Hail Marys to say, you know, hey, you know, please acknowledge who, you know, my wrongful sins and all that stuff. I realized as a Christian that I can go directly to the source himself, which is Jesus Christ. And so you graduate and you move forward. And one of the things I really learned when I started doing this job as a police officer, one of the things I had saw for the first time that I had never seen in my life before until I did this, was actually experiencing death. And meaning when I go on dead body calls and looking at a corpse and seeing it, it changes you. And the reason it changes you is because that was one of the first times that I realized that I can actually see a person's soul. And this is what I mean. When you talk to somebody and when you have conversations with them and all this other stuff, you can legitimately see a person's soul. You can see life protruding from them. You can see the spirit that they have that's protruding from them, whether it's a spirit or a bad spirit, but you can see a spirit that comes from them. When you see a dead body, when you see a corpse, it is literally like a shell. There is no life there. There is nothing. The moment you take your last breath, your body starts to decay. So without getting morbid, I want you guys to understand something. The moment you take your last breath, that is the moment that all life, all spirit literally ceases from you. And so the Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Well, if you are not a believer in Christ Jesus, your spirit has to go somewhere. It just doesn't disappear with your body. It doesn't. That's not how it works. Your spirit, the things that makes you move, the things that makes you unique, the thing that makes you Ryan Tillman or AJ or Billy, that goes somewhere. And if you don't know God, if you don't have a relationship with God, that place that it can go to is hell. And that's where you will be in eternity. So without getting morbid, without trying to say being a Bible thumper or nothing, that's not what this is about. This is me legitimately caring about who you are and who we are as people. You need to find comfort. And honestly, guys, that is what allows me to be a police officer today. If anybody had asked me, well, what allows you to keep going and being who you are? That's what it is my relationship with Christ Jesus, because that's what brings clarity to all those dangerous situations I go to. That's what brings clarity to all the nastiness I see, the dead corpses I see, the child molesters that I see, the murderers I see. I realize that I'm not going to understand everything, but I don't need to, because God gives me comfort through it all. And so if you're somebody that's on that border and doesn't have a relationship with God, don't worry, it's okay. And the great thing about it is that's why Jesus died for us, because he knew we were sin. He knew we were messed up. He knew that we were jacked up, and that's why he died on the cross. So all you got to do is just say, you know what, God, forgive me of my sins. I'm not perfect, and I will never be perfect, but I want to have a better relationship with you. I want to grow to learn and know who you are, God, so that way I can serve you the rest of my life. And by serving God the rest of your life, it's going to make you that better officer. It's going to make you that better community member, and it's going to make you not lose hope if you're trying to become a police officer, because you know there's a God that has a better plan in store for your life. So I'm going to pray for you guys real quick. We're going to do a one has to go, then we're going to jump off this podcast. So let's go ahead and jump into this prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you and I just ask that you would just bless every single one of our listeners right now. I don't know where they're at. I don't know what they're going through right now, but really right now I feel that the Spirit is just touching me right now and is playing with me to call out for those that are struggling. And I want you guys to realize that he is going to give you the peace that you're looking for. If you're that person that wants to get in law enforcement, but you keep getting shut down and locked down and every door shut in your face, God wants me to tell you to stay in the fight. Don't worry about it. He has something that's better for you, whether it's in law enforcement or not. He wants me to tell you that there is something that he has in store for you. You just have to be open to it. The answers that he's always going to give you is either yes, no, or not right now. And so he's telling me right now to tell you to just hang in there, submit to serving him more, listen to his voice, listen to that Spirit, whatever it is that's pulling your heart. And he wants me to tell you to just trust in that Spirit. He also wants me to tell you, if you're in law enforcement right now, you're contemplating leaving this profession, he wants me to tell you that he's called you for a purpose and he's called you for a reason, and to remember that. He wants you to go back to the reason why you got into this in the first place. And he wants me to remind you that if you go back to why you got into this job for the first place and remember why you did it, it's going to give you the answer you need to make right now, whether it's considering leaving the profession or staying in it. And if you're one of those that has left the profession or you're a community member, I want you to realize that he still has more in store for you. Just because you left doesn't mean he's done with you. And just because you're in the community doesn't mean you don't have the power and the tools that you need to go out and change our society. He can use you just as much as he can use anybody else. And so I want you to keep the faith. If you don't know God, just realize that all you have to do is just confess your sins and say, Lord, I am sorry for what I've done. I'm sorry for being a sinner. I'm sorry for not living up to my potential. I confess my sins to you, and all you have to do is just acknowledge Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you too will be, when you are absent from the body, you will be present with the Lord immediately, and there will be no more reason for you to ever fear death, because you know the moment you take your last breath is the moment you will be in paradise with your Lord and Savior. And so I love you guys. I thank you guys, and I ask of all these things for it's in your Son's precious name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Guys, this was a good episode. AJ, you got anything before we do one has to go?
Nope, I don't. Did Billy have a one has to go? Or
yes, he does.
Can I steal your mic?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Two different options here. So sports brands or 4 different basketball players. What would you guys rather
Sports
do?
brands.
Sports brands, all right.
Sports brands. All right. So we got Under Armour, Adidas, Nike, or Air Jordan.
Oh, I like that.
That's tough.
Under Armour, Adidas, Nike. I know. I got mine.
I think I got mine too, but it's not easy. Mine is Adidas.
Mine is Adidas too.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Oh, we all on the same page. There it
let's
is.
go. The first
There
time we
it
all
is.
agree.
There it is.
Let's
Adidas.
go.
Adidas got to go. Adidas, you guys got to come with it more. If you are a person
Sorry,
out there
Kanye.
that rocks Adidas, hey, you know what? No knock on you. I like Adidas.
Now, if New Balance was in there, Nike.
Oh man, hey, this was good. Hey, we appreciate it. This was a passion episode. This was one that if you listened to and you liked it and there was something that stuck out to you, share it. Please share these podcasts, because again, this message is not for you, it's for everybody. And so don't be greedy. Don't just hold it to yourself. Go out there, share with people that you think can benefit to this message. And so we appreciate you. If you haven't already, do me me a favor, subscribe to the Common Hero Project. Go on to the commonheroproject.org, or is it Common Hero Project or the Common Hero? It's just Common Hero. Commonheroproject.org, so you guys can make yourself better on the inside so you can be better on the outside. Make sure you do that. It's going to make you better. And AJ, man, I'm coming for you on that mile. I'm doing 2 miles today, bro. You got me motivated. I'm doing 2 miles today. You know,
Hard body, baby.
I'm doing 2 miles, man.
I did 4 yesterday.
Oh, of course, Billy gonna say you want to do 4
Why
miles.
did he do no 4? Or Billy did no 4. He walked 4 miles the other day.
I've been running for a few weeks now.
He said you walk 4 miles.
Bro,
You
you
still
ain't
here?
run no 4 miles.
Oh, he said
He
he
ain't run no 4 miles.
He said you didn't run no 4 miles.
I did. I mean, I'm not saying it was a record speed.
15-mile minute. It was
I need proof.
15
Show
minute pace,
me
bro.
the proof, Billy.
It's 15-minute pace, bro. That's what it was. Oh man. All right. Well, we love you guys. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.